How's it going, everybody? So we have a fun review today as we're talking Kraven the Hunter, and what arguably could possibly be the worst year for comic book movies. What better way to cap off the year than concluding it with Kraven the Hunter? It's been a pretty strange year as a comic book movie fan, and let's be real, we only had one MCU movie the entire year, and it's pretty crazy that we've had 3 Sony Marvel movies in all in 1 year, in this, Madam Web, and Venom the Last Dance. In some ways, I guess I have to commend Sony for them releasing 3 of these movies in 1 calendar year, even if all of them aren't really that good. Kraven's complex relationship with his ruthless father, Nikolai Kravinoff, starts him down a path of revenge with brutal consequences, motivating him to not only become the greatest hunter in the world, but also one of its most feared. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, I didn't exactly go into Kraven the Hunter with a lot of optimism. That is just not something I have after all of these different Sony Marvel movies. That isn't to say I haven't had some fun with some of these movies, like the Venom movies in particular. I think though they are objectively not great, there's some fun to be had with the sequels. It hurts me to say, as somebody that is a huge fan of Spider-Man, we have all these different Spider-Man villain movies failing, because on a fundamental level, this universe just does not work, having these villains get solo movies where they turn everyone into an anti-hero, and that's besides the fact there is no Spider-Man in these movies. Kraven the Hunter does at least have a few positives, so it's not completely doom and gloom. I'll give them that there are some sequences of action in Kraven the Hunter that are fairly enjoyable. A large part of that is due to the fact that Kraven the Hunter actually has an R rating, so they're able to push the envelope a little bit further with the violence. They make use of that rating quite well as far as bringing that fun, brutal violence. I'm talking splitting heads with an axe, taking people out using bear traps to the face, just pure fun, bloody mayhem. Some of it isn't really shot the best, which is incredibly frustrating because those are the most exciting sequences, and the editing does no favors chopping sequences together to the point where there's some parts where I have no idea what's going on. From what I could see, I did enjoy it. I will give some props to Aaron Taylor Johnson, because I do think he is trying his best with the material that's given to him. It's just very lackluster material. He pulls off the charisma of the character and definitely looks the parts. Briefly, on occasion, you do feel compelled on the journey that he goes on. The only issue here is, if you have any sort of knowledge going into this about Kraven the Hunter, he is pretty much not like the character whatsoever. The origin is completely different, and it's a similar issue that most of these Sony films have, in the fact that you have these Spider-Man villains and you're trying so desperately in every single one of these movies to make them more so an anti-hero and not a full-blown villain. That is a mistake we have seen time and time again with Venom, Morbius, Madam Web, not so much because Madam Web is a hero. Arguably, I feel like this is the worst example of them taking a villainous character and trying to make them more of a hero, anti-hero. Based around just all the things that Kraven does in the movie, I don't really feel like he's much of an anti-hero in this either. I mean, sure, he kills people and a lot of people in the movie, but they're all objectively morally bad people. There's not very much wiggle room here for gray area for the character. You're pretty much actively rooting for him despite him tearing through bad people. Which leads me to the overall story in Kraven the Hunter. I think, unfortunately, it's quite a dull mess. Outside of a handful of those action sequences, the journey we go on is kind of a complete snooze fest. It's your typical cliche path of revenge, something that's very lazily thrown together with a plethora of different characters coming in and out of the narrative randomly that bring nothing exciting to the table. Unlike Madam Web and even Morbius, there's not really much about this that's funny in like a so bad I have to see this type of situation. There's nothing really hilarious or meme-worthy like in those films. I mean, when we think of the memes of Morbius, Warbin Time, the Madam Web line about he was in the Amazon with my mom when she was researching spiders right before she died, there's literally nothing in this movie that even comes close to that as far as enjoyability or entertainment value. I just completely was checked out by the end. When it comes to the rest of the cast, I quite like a lot of this cast. I just don't think they're very good in this movie. Most of them are largely forgettable. In some cases, I would even say that they were wasted. Ariana DeBose gets completely lost in the shuffle, not doing much that's memorable as Calypso. She kind of just sort of disappears for large stretches of the movie. Russell Crowe, I mean, I love Russell Crowe. I think he's fantastic in the majority of stuff I see him in. Academy Award winning actor. The accent he puts on in this is very very questionable based around the majority of his scenes and his overall line delivery. His performance at large is kind of in the middle of trying and phoning it in, to me at least, as this bad guy. At this point in time, though, I'm kind of starting to have doubts if we're ever going to truly get a good live-action interpretation of Rhino in a film. Everything about the character in this was pretty rough. Outside of the nightmare fuel VFX once he does transform into full Rhino, the VFX work in general for Kraven is extremely rough. Whether that be the Rhino, all the different CGI animals, it all looks completely rushed and just bad. I'm talking early 2000s movie version of CGI bad. Weirdly too, in a similar fashion to another Sony Marvel movie, Morbius, the villain motivations are very similar. I don't know if that was intentional or not, but I just thought that was kind of weird. All around, Kraven the Hunter is yet another middle-of-the-road, non-memorable entry in this universe Sony has attempted to build with various Spider-Man villains. Despite a few spurts of action, Kraven ultimately isn't going to lead to anything substantial in the future. There already were talks about this basically being the conclusion for the time being for this universe, and you can kind of tell that they have no idea where they want to go, whether it be in this movie or the rest of the universe at this point. And based on the reception on this, more than likely, and then Morbius, Madam Web, and the Venom movies, I definitely think it's probably the right call to just completely end this universe, because it seems to me it is kind of directionless, kind of a waste of time. Based on those estimates we got already on what the box office is looking like here, it might end up being a bigger bomb than Morbius even. Which goes to show you that audiences are letting you know with your wallet that we do not want these movies. And with the side note, we will want these movies if Spider-Man is in them. I think at first Venom kind of got away with it because Venom is very close to Spider-Man, but once you started doing Morbius, Madam Web, and then Kraven, I don't think people want this. I don't really want this. Maybe if you put Spider-Man in it, put any Spider-Man in it, well, not any Spider-Man, but most of the well-known Spider-Mans in it, then I'll definitely be more interested in this universe. Once you get a chance to check out Kraven the Hunter, if you do, in theaters, make sure you share your thoughts down below. What'd you think of the film? Did you like the film? Did you not like the film? Do you want to see this universe continue on, or are you, like many of us, just kind of tired of this universe and want to see it just be put to bed completely forever? Either way, make sure you share your thoughts down below, because the fun is that conversation with you guys in the comment section. Thank you guys, as always, checking out videos. I always do appreciate it. Make sure you like on the video and also subscribe to the channel to update reviews, reactions, unboxings, and more. But next time, I'll see you guys later.